and you have to draw them like this. This is oxygen of the sugar molecule, which is to be drawn like this. इसका oxygen जो था, it was towards the upper side, and now the oxygen of this sugar we have drawn downwards. So this will be the position 1, second position, third position, fourth position, and this is the fifth carbon, CH2OH. This is OH group, this is HH, this is H here, and here nitrogenous base. You can call it as, if here we have first nucleotide adenine, here it will be thymine. So this is a nucleotide. This nucleotide has here phosphate. It is COP, then here OH, OH, double bond O. So this is 5-P, 3-OH, 5-P, 3-OH. This is the direction or polarity of this nucleotide. And now bring one more such nucleotide. In that nucleotide, we also have to invert the sugar. You have to draw it like this. Like this. Here you will keep another nitrogenous base. Suppose here we have guanine and here we have to write cytosine. This is what? Hydroxyl group. Hydroxyl group. And here we have this phosphate. And likewise, you will eject here a water molecule to establish a bond that you call as phosphoester bond, and this is the phosphodiester bond between this nucleotide and this nucleotide, and this process will continue. This will continue. Again, a phosphodiester bond will be established between this and the new nucleotide, and you will get similarly a polynucleotide chain. So if this is clear, now let us draw this one like this. You have here thymine, nitrogenous base attached to sugar, and this is phosphate. Then another, this is sugar, this is phosphate, and this is nitrogenous base. Suppose complementary to guanine we have cytosine. Again another sugar, this is phosphate, and this is adenine, nitrogenous base complementary to this one. Then again sugar, this is the phosphate of it, and this is sugar guanine. Then again another sugar, this is the cytosine base, and this is phosphate. Now these nucleotides are joined. We know that they are joined by means of phosphodiester bonds. So here phosphodiester bond, here phosphodiester bond, and here again the same phosphodiester bond, here again the same phosphodiester bond, and this is now at 5th position of carbon. So it is 5-P position, 5-P position of the last, what I mean to say, nucleotide. And here we have third 3-OH position, which is free here towards the end. So the chain runs from this to this. Here it has 5-P and here it has 3-OH. Whereas this one had 5-P here and it ran downwards 3-OH. So the two chains are anti-parallel. They have opposite chemical polarity, and hence they are said to be anti-parallel. Anti-parallel means having the opposite chemical polarity, because one runs in a direction from 5-P to 3-OH downwards here, and the other runs from 5-P to 3-OH but upwards here. These are two complementary strands. So they are first anti-parallel and they are also complementary. Complementary in the sense that if here we have adenine, here we have it is complementary base thymine, and they can establish double hydrogen bond. Guanine can establish triple hydrogen bond. These two double, these two triple, and here also triple bond will be established. So in this way you get a DNA double helix structure, double stranded DNA, where you have two polynucleotide chains and the hydrogen bond is between the complementary bases between them. Now in each strand you will notice sugars and phosphates. These sugars and phosphates. Sugars and phosphates. Like this. They constitute sugar phosphate backbone. And also in this, sugars phosphates. They constitute this sugar phosphate backbone. And these bases are set at right angles to the sugar phosphate backbone. They are set at 90 degrees. This AT pair, GC pair, TA pair, all these base pairs which are stacked parallel, one above the other, they are stacked parallel to each other and are set at right angles to the sugar phosphate backbone. So considering these two strands of DNA which are anti-parallel and complementary and have hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases, you can consider this like a ladder that has two side bars and many cross bars or rungs. Suppose this is one side bar of the ladder. You can write here 5-P 3-OH and the direction is like this. That is growth. Direction of growth is downwards here on the board. And this strand or this side bar of the ladder, you will write as this 5-P running towards what? 3-OH. So this is running upwards. So these two are like the side bars of a ladder. Now, adenine is paired with thymine by means of double hydrogen bond. Here guanine is paired with cytosine of this by means of a triple bond. Here thymine double bonded to adenine of this. Here cytosine triple bonded to guanine of this. So this is these base pairs which are stacked one above the other and lie towards interior of the sugar phosphate backbone. They are set at right angles. They make the cross bars of the ladder. Cross bars or rungs of the ladder-like structure. Whereas this strand and this strand, they make the sugar phosphate backbone. They are said to be side bars of the ladder. So DNA has a ladder-like structure definitely, but the ladder is a twisted one. The ladder is a twisted ladder. And we have to draw the DNA double helix molecule like this. Suppose I am drawing here the structure of DNA double helix molecule and I will draw it like this. Let me redraw it in order to consume smaller amount of space. I'm drawing it like this. Suppose this is one of the two strands. The other strand will be drawn like this. So this is the diagram. This is the diagram that I have drawn here. I think I have to redraw it in order to make the diagram to some degree a perfect diagram. Let me draw it like this for our convenience. Yes, to some extent this seems to be a correct diagram. Now take one strand, you will follow this one like this. This is one strand. Keep it 5-P here, and here it is 3-OH, one strand. And the other will be here running in a direction from 5-P to 3-OH. So these are the two strands which are complementary strands and anti-parallel strands, and there are hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases. So this is DNA double helix structure. When you draw this diagram, you can see there is formation of alternate major and minor grooves. This is a groove, a bigger one. You will call this groove as major groove. Major groove on the DNA. After this major groove, there is another smaller groove that you call as minor groove. Minor groove. Then again follows a major groove. This is major groove, and then again will come a minor groove. If these grooves are formed alternately in your diagram, you think that the diagram is correct, because these must be formed in the DNA diagram. Major groove, minor groove, major groove, minor groove. They alternately are placed, so they follow each other. Now if you see a major groove from this to this position, it has a length. This major groove has a length of 22 angstroms. And then there is minor groove. It has a length of यहाँ से लेकर के यहाँ तक. It has a length of 12 angstroms. And now if you consider the distance upon DNA from one minor groove to one major groove, it will correspond to 34 angstroms. This distance, it will correspond to what? 34 angstroms, 22 plus 12. So this much distance involves one major groove and one minor groove. And this much length of DNA is said to be pitch of DNA. इसको आप बोल सकते हो pitch of DNA. or you can also call it as one complete turn of the DNA. Turn of DNA. One turn of DNA. Or you can call it as a gyre. Gyre of DNA. So it has three names: pitch or turn or gyre. So a gyre is one complete turn that corresponds to 34 angstroms. Or you can say it includes a major groove and a minor groove. And in this one pitch or turn of DNA, there are approximately 10 base pairs. Suppose AT pair, GC pair, CG pair, TA pair, and so on and so forth. The number of these base pairs in one turn of DNA is 10 base pairs. So if 10 base pairs are there in a length of 34 angstroms, you can calculate the distance between any two adjacent base pairs in the DNA. That is 34 divided by 10, that is 3.4 angstroms. So the distance between any two adjoining base pairs in DNA is approximately 3.4 angstroms. And one important point here to remember is that is the diameter of the DNA double helix molecule. In the usual form, that is the bDNA form as proposed by Watson and Crick. This diameter of the DNA corresponds to 20 angstroms. So 20 angstroms is the diameter assumed by usual form of DNA, that is bDNA form. That was described to us by Watson and Crick in their structural model of DNA double helix molecule. So if you see the DNA double helix molecule from one end to another end like this, it has a constant diameter of 20 angstroms. जहां पे भी आप इसको मेजर करोगे, it is the same in diameter, that is 20 angstroms. And this, what I mean to say, diameter, constant diameter in the DNA, it is maintained by choice of base pairing. You know that in DNA, a purine always pairs with what? A pyrimidine. Purines are dicyclic, like this. So they are broader, having two rings of the atoms, whereas pyrimidines are monocyclic. So whenever a purine performs pairing with a pyrimidine only in DNA, I mean to say a purine only pairs with a pyrimidine or a pyrimidine only pairs with a purine, the diameter remains constant. It does not vary. If, for example, two pyrimidines would pair at some points in the DNA, the diameter would fall. On the other hand, if two purines would pair at some points in DNA, two purines which are both dicyclic, then the diameter would have been more than 20 angstroms. It would rise at those points in the DNA. So these situations do not arise in DNA. In DNA, no two pyrimidines can pair up, nor no two pyrimidines can pair up, nor two purines can pair up. Only a purine pairs with a pyrimidine or a pyrimidine pairs with a purine. So that maintains the constant diameter of 20 angstroms in DNA. I think this is sufficient for today. Inshallah, we will meet again very soon. Best of luck.